Hey Joe, just with the running game, the second half of the season, there's been a lot of improvement in it. How much of it has been having Justin back and getting a consistent second running back, or just maybe more familiarity with the system?
Yeah, I think familiarity with the system and just you know uh, staying with it. Like we said earlier, reps and time on task and that part of the game is very important. And so I think as the season goes on and the O linemen work together more and the running backs get a little more work, it all kind of comes into play that way. So a number of factors, but I think Frank Smith and Sean Sarrett and Kevin Koger, uh, Derek Foster, those guys head that up and they do a great job. So it's been good to have here this part of the season.
And then just looking back to last Sunday's game against Denver, how pleased were you with the performance of the line, especially considering you were missing Storm at right tackle, and then Corey leaves in the first quarter. No sacks, hardly any pressures. Probably one of your best performances of the year.
Yeah, those guys did a great job. Came ready to play and kept Justin clean, and when that happens, I think usually good things happen for us. So, great job by the guys up front.
Okay, thanks.
Jeff Miller.
Joe, we've talked before this season about Justin Herbert in these primetime games, and his stats are quite good. What do you kind of believe in the idea of certain players just rise up in when these kind of environments?
Yeah, I think so. I think some guys kind of get a little bit extra juice or adrenaline going for when they know all eyes are on them. I don't know if that's Justin. It feels like he's pretty consistent. I feel like every game day he's kind of got that killer instinct going. So I don't know if it's just coincidence or that's going to play out over the long haul. But I feel like he plays pretty well every week. Sometimes the stats, you could play a perfect game and your stats may not be as gaudy as some other weeks. But hopefully that trend continues this week.
And Joe, I apologize. You have not been in the stadium, correct? The Saints didn't play there last
We
year.
did last year.
You did
Yeah,
play
I
there.
think it was game 2 or 3. Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. And obviously there were no fans though.
No fans.
What have you heard, or what is your understanding just in terms of the environment? I assume it's going to be pretty crazy loud.
Yeah, I think it'll be loud, and the Raiders fans are famous for that. They certainly were loud here when we played earlier in the season, so I figure it'll be louder. But we've got a lot of work in the silent cadence, so I think we'll be ready for it.
And just that idea of working in a loud environment like that, I'm guessing that's not as big an issue these days as maybe it used to be. Is that accurate? Just given.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still, I think it's most challenging for the tight ends and tackles. They're a little bit further out, tight ends especially, and so peeking in and getting the indicators when the ball's getting snapped, they usually have the hardest time with it. And then just you just got to be careful with how much you're asking for precise snap points with motions and whatnot, because the guys on the move can't hear, so they're going to have to get their heads back in to see the ball. So, those are your biggest challenges.
Okay, thank you.
Gilbert.
Hey, Joe, I think it was last week where you mentioned how tough it was to adjust without Donald Parham because he does things in the blocking and receiving. And then last week you didn't have Jared Cook as well. But how tough was that to manage? And how did you think Steven Anderson and Trey McKitty did in that role?
I think they did outstanding. Trey's really come on as the seasons wore on and become a very trustworthy blocker and able to take over some of the role that we counted on Donald earlier in the season. Steven, we've talked about him a number of times, just how reliable he is and kind of a utility player. Certainly we missed Jared, but we were able to make our adjustments and figure it out as we went. So again, I can't say enough about the position coaches when those things happen. Kevin Koger just handled it as Jared went out late, and we were able to make those adjustments. So it was good.
And Joe, as a whole, with all the shuffling that's gone on, not just on the offensive line, but throughout the whole offense, it seems like you guys have adjusted pretty well. Starting from that Cincinnati game, you're scoring like at least 28 points per game, getting your 400 yards. As for you, how's that been managing all the shuffling? And is it kind of just part of that everybody knows their role and they know the scheme, and that's why it's a little easier to process late in the year?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, again, it's a group effort. I think the players themselves have done a great job adjusting when their roles have changed, especially when it happens late in the week. That can be challenging. Again, we talked about the assistant coaches kind of making sure that their guys are able to fill a number of roles. And it's just part of football. I think this year has been a little bit more than normal with some of the COVID stuff, but you're always adjusting to injuries and surprises personnel-wise. So it's kind of part of the gig, but yeah, you're right. It's been a little bit more, more focused this year with all of the COVID absences.
Thanks, Joe.
Last one, Popper.
Hey, Joe, what have you seen out of the Raiders defense over the last 3 weeks on this 3-game winning streak? It seems like they've really been stopping the run well. They haven't really been giving up many points. Just what have you seen that's maybe different from earlier in the season?
Well, I mean, the first thing that jumps out in the film is just their pass rush. Their defensive ends are, tough to block, and they consistently get a pass rush, and they get it there quickly. So that's a huge challenge, and they're tough in the run game as well. They're so active and high effort guys. Strong inside, and then I think just the scheme itself is a simple one, but those guys really, especially as this season's gone on, early in the year you could tell they were still learning all the nuances. And, you can see as the year's gone on, they're getting more comfortable, they're playing faster. And so, I think with any coach's first year, as the guys learn the system a little bit more, they tend to play it a little bit better and a little tighter, and they've definitely been playing well.
Is it different preparing for this defensive scheme, considering obviously it used to be so prevalent, but a lot of teams have sort of veered away from, the cover 3 heavy scheme. Is it different preparing for the scheme?
Yeah, it's different. It's different in some ways. We faced it. It seems like, when we were in New Orleans, Atlanta played it, and it feels like I've been staring at this style of defense for 8 years, 9 years now. And so you're always watching and trying to find the just weakness that you can easily exploit, but it's a very sound system. So it's not like, they've kind of got it tightened up where it's not easy to get, 30, 40-yard gains on them, 20-yard gains. It's a defense that tries to force you to stay patient. And, again, we talked about it last week a little bit with Denver. You just have to be very efficient when you go against a team like this. Doesn't mean you won't have big explosive plays, but if you chase them too hard, you can get behind the sticks. And so, don't be afraid to check the ball down and take what the defense is giving you.
On that point of checking the ball down and taking what the defense is giving Justin, it seems like he's really improved and grown as a decision maker as this season has gone along. I'm just curious from your perspective, like what have you seen from him in that area? Because he really isn't making very many mistakes, even when he's under pressure, just in terms of where he's going with the football.
Yeah, I think, a number of things. I think we talked about it earlier. He still is such a young quarterback as far as experience is concerned. Again, with having so many different offenses to learn every year going back to college, you spend a lot of your time thinking about offense and learning what you're doing versus studying defense. And so, just as that experience comes, you can just feel him growing every week, knowing what the defense is doing and just understanding how our play is matching up against the defense that we're facing and where to go with the football. And, again, I can't say enough of the work that Shane Day does with him and how hard he works every single week. And I think you can see that it's paying dividends.